Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to showcase my favorite Arc Warlock build in Destiny 2 episode Heresy. And I am very glad that Arc Warlock is back on the menu because outside of maybe Getaway Artists, it has really struggled. And this build makes use of some old favorites, some new items, and new additions to the game, as well as some of the recent buffs to make a very fun gameplay loop that feels like you have your super almost all of the time, and you can absolutely shred ads as well. So anyway, let's jump into the build. Starting off with the weapons, we've got whatever kinetic weapon here you want. You want kinetic specifically, and I'll explain why. I was using the bygones just for fun's sake, but you can also swap out for something different depending on what type of activity you're taking on. If you need an anti-champion weapon, I also have on Delicate Tomb. This is going to generate ionic traces with final blows, which is absolutely insane for this build. And yeah, that's going to be the main focus that I have with this for sure. I also have Eyes Unveiled. This is going to be for heavier damage for bosses and the like, and this one I really enjoy. This is a brand new linear fusion rifle this season, and I'm using a void one specifically so I don't use up all of my weapon surge when I am blowing through enemies with my Delicate Tomb. As far as the subclass itself, I've got on the Chaos Reach. I'm glad this is really good right now. It feels awesome. It does a lot of damage, all that kind of good stuff. Healing Rift, if you are in the Nether and healing isn't really working, you can swap this for Empowering Rift. Really doesn't matter, but if you're in harder activities, Healing Rift might be a bit better. I use Ball Lightning, but the melee doesn't matter at all. And then I also use a Pulse Grenade simply because it's my favorite one in PvE. I have on Electrostatic Mine, so defeating enemies with arc abilities or defeated jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. This is very nice. Collected ionic trace makes you amplified. Again, with my fusion rifle, I'm generating those ionic traces all the time, so I'm pretty much permanently amplified, and that's important for what I'll explain in just a little bit as well. Now, Ionic Sentry is the brand new aspect. This one is a lot of fun. You essentially get an arc turret, and you can essentially be charging it from far away. That's what you'll see in the beginning of the video. And I just toss this into the mix, and it does a ton of damage, generating that bolt charge, and it's just very impactful in my opinion. I love the turrets for the Warlock quite a bit. As far as the fragments, I'm using Spark of Beacons. This is so that way my arc special fusion rifle is going to be blinding enemies all the time because I'm pretty much permanently going to be amplified. Then we've got the Spark of Shock, so I'm going to be jolting targets as well. And then we've got Discharge, so I can also create more ionic traces, as well as collecting an ionic trace grants you a stack of bolt charge. That's the reason I'm mainly running this fragment. And then Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified, creates an orb of power. So as you can see, I'm going to be amplified all the time, creating ionic traces all the time, orbs of power all the time. It is a very fun gameplay loop. I'm also using Geomags. They are incredibly good. Probably the best arc super exotic in the game right now, and you get your Chaos Reach insanely fast because collecting ionic traces grants you energy for Chaos Reach. So obviously I'm generating a lot of them, and also sprinting while near max bolt charge will grant stacks over time as well. Again, I'm creating that bolt charge quite a bit. It's just a really fun gameplay loop in my opinion in a lot of different activities. The mods, I'm using Arc Siphon, Heavy Ammo Finder, and then Arc Siphon again. I want to create as many of those orbs of power as possible. Arc Loader, this is because I never finished the catalyst for Delicate Tomb. I'll swap that out once I do, but also Firepower and bolstering detonation. Then we've got damage resist of whatever activity you need it for. Arc Reserves is nice for extra ammo, but you can also use Void Reserves instead if you want, and then Concussive Dampener, Void Weapon Surge, Arc Scavenger, and then Innervation, and then finally Distribution Reaper and Powerful Attraction. Powerful Attraction is very nice when I'm rocking my Rift pretty consistently to scoop up all the orbs that I am generating, so I don't have to really run around nearly as much. As far as the artifact perks goes, they are pretty relevant for this build as well. There are some very, very good ones that you should keep in mind. Really, particle reconstruction is massive, dealing sustained damage with fusion rifles or linear fusion rifles partially refills the magazine from reserves. This is why the Catalyst for Delicate Tomb doesn't matter as much, but it also grants a bonus damage for a short duration. That's why I have on a fusion and linear fusion, because of how much extra that does. And then also the defibrillating blast, so stunning a champion, grants maximum stacks of bolt charge. This is really nice because of any kind of combat where you are tackling champions for sure. Then we've also got the flashover, so when you gain maximum bolt charge, you become amplified. Again, we're amplified all the time, but lightning bolts deal more damage. That's the really key to that part. Dreadful finisher I have on as well. This is gonna give me some extra special ammo, which is just a nice little bonus. We've got dielectric, so I have defeating arc debuff targets, grants bolt charge. I'm blinding enemies all the time. I am jolting enemies quite a bit as well, so I'm going to be generating a ton of bolt charge with this build, which is very, very nice. Overclock and load while you're amplified or have bolt charge. Arc weapons gain increased handling and reload speed. Again, very nice for Delicate Tomb. And then obviously Unstoppable Fusion, and then whatever anti-champion options you need there as well. The gameplay loop is fairly simple too. You're essentially going to use your abilities and then start generating as many of those ionic traces as possible, as well as the bolt charge. And it's just, once you fully ramped up, you're going to get your super incredibly fast. It's very good when there are heavy amounts of adds, this build, and also when you can generate all those ionic traces, you can get your super back insanely fast. So because some of the arenas have a lot of enemies, the basic enemies on top of a boss, that is really where this build is going to shine, because you can essentially just set down your your turret, you can toss a grenade, you can kill a couple adds with your Delicate Tomb, and then you're going to be essentially just shredding the boss, and then also generating all of these ionic traces as well at the same time. And it really doesn't require a lot of insane tech or anything to do. And so I really like this combination. I think it's one that works incredibly well this season. I've used it in the Nether, but also a ton of other activities as well. If you are struggling at all in the Nether, obviously this build doesn't have anything that is going to do any type of healing cheese either, and I was able to clear the Nether with it no problem without dying a lot, just because you're clearing adds and bosses so quickly that you don't really have to worry about survivability in the same way as you might in other activities. So when you get to harder activities, it does become a little bit more of a problem. The Delicate Tomb is an interesting one because it doesn't do enough damage once you start getting too far away. So you got to be really careful to play a certain playstyle, almost like you're peeking from cover in order to use it. But again, once you start generating those ionic traces, once you start getting your super back very quickly, that's really where the build starts to really flow, no matter how difficult the activity is. You just got to get the ball rolling in the first place. So I'm a massive fan of this. I think it's incredibly good. I'm really looking forward to trying out other builds. I've been messing with a lot of stuff so far to kind of tinker with and find the stuff that I am enjoying the most, and there's a lot out there. Luckily, we've got the new exotic mission. We've got the new dungeon to test these things out on. Those are very fun. I have a Titan build that I used in a bunch of different activities, including the new exotic mission. That's very good, so I'm excited to showcase all of that for you as well. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like the video as always, comment, subscribe. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.